Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this November 4th Committee of the Whole Budget Meeting to order at 6 p.m. by formally recognizing that we're meeting on Aboriginal land and that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. We respectfully acknowledge our responsibility to work toward right relations with our Indigenous partners and thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this place for thousands of years. In particular, we acknowledge the proud heritage of our neighbors from Alderville First Nations and the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that the November 4th, 2021 Committee of the Whole agenda be approved as presented. All in favor? That's carried. And are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? None. And we don't have any delegations. Oh, and I believe Councillor Bateman wanted to make an announcement. That's not a formal thing, but we'll allow it tonight.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. It's not normal, but we've put together at the last second. It's going to be a full vaccination clinic again this weekend in the municipality. It's going to be held at ENSS, and it's going to be a full day. It's going to start at 10 a.m. and run to 5 p.m. And the significance of this one is going to be first shot, second shot, and it's going to be the first one, I believe, in Northumberland. It's going to be offering third shot booster. Go online and read the criteria groups that it qualifies for. The only thing I will say to residents is, even if you're in those categories, you have to ensure that you have 6 months between your second shot before you can get the third shot, even if you're in one of those categories. And they're bringing both vaccines.
Thank you. Sorry, what was the date? It was.
It's this Sunday, November 7th,
Sunday.
from 10 till 5.
Thank you. And next we have citizens. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor, you asked for declarations and I just was, I had lost it there for a second. If any discussion comes up with regard to the Hilton Cemetery, I do have a indirect pecuniary interest, as I am a member of the church board for Trinity St. Andrews United Church, which is the owner and operator of the Hilton Cemetery.
Thank you. Next, we have citizens comment. Do we have anything that we know of? Okay, thank you. So we're moving to number 6, which is staff reports. I just wanted to go over a couple of things before we started, and then I would hand things over to our Director of Finance. We put together a bit of our schedule's been put together, and it's in our package. And I just want to go over it. Last year, we did capital before Christmas, and we had agreed on it, but then we revisited a number of times in the new year. And the desire is that we have capital done before Christmas so that staff can start to put out the RFPs. But so what we're looking at is, or a suggestion is that we do capital this month. We have 3 meetings. Next month, perhaps we just have 1 meeting and go over the grants and aid. And then in the new year, we start on operating. But I want to hear from council whether or not you're okay with that, because I don't want to end up where we were last year, where we're going back a number of times. Perhaps you can just let me know if you're comfortable with getting through capital in November and making a decision to recommend it to council once we've done our deliberations, and if not, what you suggest. So I'm just going to start with Councillor Anderson and we'll go around.
I think it's a great idea because it'll help the staff plan and get things rolling on their next year's wishes.
Thank you. Councillor Bateman.
Short and sweet. I'm good with that.
Good with that. Councillor Tadman.
Yes, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Councillor Rowley.
Basically, just one question. I don't know if anything in our capital budget will be affected. Will we be adding things? As the Director of Finance said, we won't know the assessment growth numbers until middle of December. Depending where that comes in, will that give us some more dollars to work with? And then will we have to review capital anyway in case there's something that we put to the side, but maybe want to bring it back? That would be.
Good question. Linda, do you want to maybe add to that a little bit, or?
Sure, thank you. I think that if we can get council's wishes move forward before the year end, so even by the end of November with the recommendation for the first meeting in December, then we can get the tenders out. And then if we have some room, you could still add more to the capital budget later. I think that what we're trying to do is avoid maybe some of the frustration that council felt last year in meeting and revisiting things without having all of the information on operating. So council wasn't, in my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, but the way I read it was council was not comfortable last year in setting the entire budget before they knew what the county budget was going to be, what the education rates were, et cetera. So if that's going to be the same situation this year, then perhaps council just wants to complete capital, maybe revisit new things in the new year, but complete capital, get the tenders out, and maybe visit the grants and aid and know what your parameters already are with that.
Does that work for you?
It certainly works for me. I'm certainly, in support of getting the tenders out, that's for sure. It benefits us, it benefits staff as well if we can get them out sooner. But like I say, with not knowing exactly what the variable is, as long as there's room maybe to go back later to add something if required.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely a possibility. So thank you. Mayor Ostrander.
I think, Deputy Mayor, that I'm in favor of moving forward with the capital budget so that we can get these tenders out. And if there's we find there's extra dollars to purchase more or deal with more capital assets later, there's no danger in adding. It's only that council has an understanding that once we've set the capital budget and we've provided direction to staff to move forward, we can't then turn around and go, oh, wait, we've changed our minds
Right.
and pull back. And I think that was the concern that you're expressing from last year.
Right.
But I'm totally in favor of moving forward with the capital budget.
Okay. So we have 3 meetings set for this month. If we don't need 3, we don't need it. But if we do, we do. By the end of tonight, if members of council have questions and they can't make decisions regarding capital, it's good to have our questions asked tonight so that staff have time to get back to us, so that we're totally informed and we're not feeling uncomfortable with making that decision. So just kind of, I thought it's best to have the conversation now so that we're all kind of on the same page as where we're moving, and so that we can get to that point. Let's see. So the next is, I think it would be good to go over the executive summary and some of what's included and what's not included, and the challenges and opportunities. And if Director of Finance, Linda Whitfield, would be able to do that, I think the next place to start. The executive summary is on page 3.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. First of all, I'd like to make sure that I express my thanks to our CAO and all of the senior management team, because a lot of work goes into the budget before council even has an opportunity to look at it. So thank you to the whole team for providing all the information that you have in front of you today. One of the things I wanted to note was that Section 290 of the Municipal Act is the legislative requirement for setting budgets by lower tier municipal governments. And it should include, and it will include, all of the amounts that will be required for municipal purposes next year. And that includes the boards and agencies. The interesting thing is, though, when we're looking at setting our budget policy and our budget schedules for next year, we have to be aware that the budget for a year immediately following an election year, for example, the 2023 budget, may only be adopted in the year to which the budget applies. So we could, the new council could start meeting, but you can't adopt a budget for the year following an election until that year. Budget guidelines for 2022 were approved by council in June, and staff have developed a budget following those guidelines as closely as we could. MPAC, as we know, have not released the numbers for the growth numbers for 2021. So we have no idea what that little increased assessment is going to be for us in 2022. And they've also advised that reassessments were deferred again. So most properties will see the same assessment in 2022 as they did in 2021 and 2020. Some of the items staff have advocated for were not included in the first draft budget. And so we've included that on a list that's found on page 4 of your budget book. And council, I'm sure, have had the opportunity to read through this, so I'm not going to read through the list. I just want to make you aware where different things are. The 2021 tax rate comparisons for all the municipalities in Northumberland County are found on page 5. Reserve estimates have been included in the budget book, pages 6 to 8. The numbers are not firm. They're just best guess numbers for the end of 2021 based on the project's different levels of completion. And staff have also included a larger print pop out in the binder of the reserves. The internal loan schedule includes borrowing for vehicles, the industrial park, and for the columbarium expansion. That can be found on page 9 of the budget book, and there's also a large print pop out in the binder. And I apologize that some of the copies are not great in your budget binders, but we were having difficulties with our copier. So a summary of external debt is also included in your first draft budget book, starting on page 10. And staff have provided council with an estimate of the current principal balances for all the various loans. That was requested by Councillor Rowley today, so thank you. The annual repayment limit based on the 2019 FIR is included on page 12. And also starting on page 12, grant and aid summaries. And they conclude on page 13, and they're also included in Schedule A at the back of the book. Staff would only probably have the summary page, and council has all of that great detail that was provided by the various community groups. And the external budgets are found on page 13, and they're also included under Schedule B. There's a number of them that are still estimates. There's a little asterisk beside them. And I provided a new Schedule B this evening with submissions from the Brighton Public Library Board and Lower Trent Conservation. They came in this week, late last week. So as we move through into the departmental presentations of the capital budget tonight, I think it's, I'm going to just see if it starts some, seems late.
Page 42.
Thank you, page 42. But we also, I omitted page 63 in the budget book, and that is the capital budget for economic development. So I've provided that to you on your desk this evening.
That's the only thing that on our desk this evening that we actually need to look at tonight, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the one I pulled out right away and put in.
Okay.
And so, okay, good.
The numbers, by the way, are included in the first draft budget. It's just the page was omitted from the
Right,
budget
yeah.
book. And so capital budget starts on page 42. And there's also a large print pop out of the capital budget with all the funding in your budget binders.
Yeah, so thank you, Linda, and thank you for all your time that you've put into as well. It is a lot of work. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn to page 42. I'm assuming that everyone's read through these pages, but what I will do is have each department head give a brief overview. And we're also going to have open the big black and white printout. And that's what we're going to go through as we go down. And we're just going to take it section by section. And so has everyone found those two pieces? This is, well, it's called page 1. It's the capital pullout. It's the big black and white capital pullout, capital item. Yeah. So that's what we're going to go down. But if you want to have your other pages in front of you, it has the details of each of these. And the first area is general government. Who will be speaking on that? Linda, will you be speaking on that?
Sure, I'll speak on that. One of the things I should note too in your budget book is that the road infrastructure summaries are right following the budget or the capital summary, the capital budget summary. And that was provided to us by our Director of Public Works. And also the vehicles and equipment summary with the condition assessments was provided by our fleet manager.
Right, that was at the
I
beginning.
forget his title, but I apologize to Marnie. Thank you, fleet coordinator. So the general government capital budget includes a generator, and council may remember that in 2021, we did a assessment and an engineering assessment and to provide us with the parameters on what we would require for a generator to run this building. And so the cost is approximately 125,000. We've provided that in the budget with funding coming from the modernization funding. So it doesn't impact your tax support at all. There's maybe Preston should be speaking to this instead of me. There's an AC unit next to the heat pump that out back that needs to be replaced. And then there's 2 HVAC units on the roof that need to be replaced. If I'm incorrect, Preston, please jump in.
No, that's correct, Linda.
Okay, so that's our brief explanation, and that's the first item on the pullout is in general government. So we see that the expenditure is 169,500. That is funded through reserves and what's res funds? The difference.
Reserve funds.
And
So reserve funds are a segregated fund that are self-balancing. And reserves are just like a deferred revenue that we keep in our liability side of our balance sheet.
thank you.
The reserve that's being used for the HVAC units is actually just the balance that was left over from the brickwork at the back.
Okay. So we'll see that the only amount that will be supported is 17,628. So for council questions, go ahead, Councillor Tadman.
No question. I think it's self-explanatory and it's not costly. So I don't think we need to argue about that particular one. I think just accept it.
Should we just reserve our arguments for other things? Is that what you're saying?
Well, not me. I never argue.
Right. That's right. Thank you. Any questions on any of these items before we just skip along to the next one? Makes sense? Okay. I have a check mark there and I used pen, not pencil. So next is the fire department. Fire Chief James Smith, did you want to give us a little bit of an overview? You don't have to read through everything, just a bit of an overview of your budget requests.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Right now, we're looking at doing some replacement of some major apparatus, as well as we're carrying over funds from 2021 to 2022. The apparatus that we were looking at purchasing last year have been delayed significantly with supply chain management and chip replacement. So we're dealing with doing a lot of carryover from 2021 to 2022.
Thank you. And I do know, I mean, we do have one item there that we may want to talk about a little bit and that's land acquisition for the new fire EMS department. That is part of our strategic plan, and that is some good forward planning. And you have some details in there for us as far as it's going to be externally financed. We're not going to use tax support for that, although we do eventually, we do pay it back through tax support, but just so that we understand, can you give us a little bit of a explanation on what your plans are for that?
Yes, moving forward, we'd like to look at some land in around the municipality, in the southern part of the municipality, for a new fire station and EMS station. We've earmarked 400,000 for that. And we're looking at property currently and working with the other senior staff member to try and find that property.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions? We have a number of items here. We certainly can go over them individually or whatever council prefers. We have 1,983,000 here. Only 58,500 is tax support. The rest is from reserves, external funding, and a few of the other reserve funds that we have in there. Questions? Go ahead, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just asked the chief if he could clarify southern part of the municipality is, I think you mean the urban area, not necessarily specifically south of the CNCP rail lines. I just don't want any unreasonable expectations in the community.
Correct.
Thank you. Councillor Tadman?
And just to be clear, and the mayor, it has been involved previously with new builds for both fire and ambulance. This amount set aside is just for land acquisition,
Great.
and the county does support as part. Would you like to comment on that further?
I'm not sure what the intention for Brighton would be, but certainly there has been a cost sharing in the past when Crammy Township and when Alma-Calderman and when Trent Hills built their new stations. Different, I think Crammy and Alma-Calderman are very similar in nature, where the county owns the facility, but there was cost sharing in the creation of it. In Trent Hills, I think it's different. I think Trent Hills owns the station because they also include their new council chambers are in that facility as well. So different mix, and I'm not sure what our intention would be, but I know that staff from the county and staff from the municipality are starting those early discussions now.
Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm looking at this, that we're taking 25,000 out of reserve funds for the, looking at here,
The self-contained.
self-contained breathing apparatus, but I can't find the transfer out on, I got the development charges one, the 60,000, the other for the fire reserve, but I can't find which one the 25,000 is coming out of. It says reserve funds, but I don't see an out number under any of the fire protection or firefighter zone. I just don't see it.
Director of Finance.
Okay, through you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, most of the reserve fund transfers that you see on here are modernization fund.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't come out of any of the fire reserve funds that are already there. Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
I'll just make a point that I agree that the land acquisition at this time is a very smart move. Prices, whatever they are and wherever it's going to be, aren't going to go down. So we should get that, and that planning. So that's the first step of planning. So I think it's a good move. And as far as the rest of the list from the fire department, I think very reasonable, and I'm fine with it the way it is.
Councillor Bateman.
Just clarification, because the hole punch is right where that one line is. That's station one roof. I'm assuming that says. So what would be the timeline if this was to go through to require the station one roof in comparison if you're going to do land acquisition and build another one south of the tracks? Would you want to hold on that and see where the other goes? Just
Thank you. Good question.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll speak to the building side of that. So water is literally pouring in that building. And my best guess was you're going to be a few years out before the new hall is built. And I don't know if this building will be destroyed or not, but it'd be very good value if we put a roof on it now to try to save the rest of the structure and clean up some of the mold that's inside of the building and whatnot, just to provide a healthy workspace for staff to work in.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to do this. Just to be clear, it's not necessarily going to be south of the tracks. The new station will be in the urban area of the municipality. It may be, but it may not be. But we don't, we just don't want any.
Any other questions? Fire department? I have one. I'm just curious. We're replacing a 1988 International tanker. What's the lifespan of these? Is that normal?
That is absolutely abnormal. Typically, they're good for 20 years. This one was already used when we got it. It was a bread truck when we initially got it, and they put a water tank on the back of it, and it's underpowered, and it's hurting. It's passing safety, but barely.
So when we do replace vehicles, what happens to the old vehicles?
Gov Deals, I believe it is. We auction them off at Gov Deals. Is that correct?
So we do get a little bit of money back. Do we account for that when we're budgeting, or do we just wait to see what happens?
So when we sell equipment through policy, we transfer, we sell it through Gov Deals, and then we transfer that to their reserve for that department.
Okay,
And then it's used for perhaps equipment purchase, but perhaps for, other purposes. And we've been doing exceptionally well in our vehicle sales this year.
have we?
Dollars, yeah.
Well, that's good. Good to hear. Okay, thank you. Councillor Anderson, do you have
I
another
ju-
question?
I just wondered if we could use it for a parade or something sometime.
The funds or the truck? I think
The
we already
truck.
have one we use for parades.
But we've got a real old one.
Yes,
now.
we do.
Yeah.
Any other questions about the budget?
Me, no.
No, we're not asking. Is everyone satisfied with the fire department's capital budget? Yeah, go ahead. Let's have the conversation.
Just on not on passing the trucks, but with the issues with all vehicles, and that's why you've had great sales on used vehicles, because they're in short supply and high demand.
Mhm.
Anything new, because I think you said you're still waiting for the stuff that we approved last year. So the equipment that you just said is really aged. Are we well enough protected, given that there's not going to be any really hard timeline to receive anything new?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, absolutely. We'll be protected, and plus using, if things do break down, we have issues. We do have our mutual aid partners that will come to our assistance if we call them.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Oh, yes, go ahead.
It's just a general question, because if we review some of this, we can come back to this, right? That's the plan for meeting 2 and 3, correct? Like,
Right. So we're going to go through, if we can get through each department tonight, great. And then we can formulate any other things we need to know. If we don't, that's okay. We've got another 2 meetings. So yes, right now we're just going through, we're seeing where we're at and asking questions.
Right. So if other questions come out after today, that's still okay too.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
So the next department is Public Works. Director of Public Works, Preston Parkinson. If you want to give your overview, that would be great.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. In this Public Works building section, the majority of it is carry forward projects from this year. And the rest that we're adding are preventative projects, I'd call them, such as replacement of our waste oil tank at Sharp Road, replacing the sand dome cover that's showing its age, and that's where we store all of our salt for the winter for the urban area. And then replacing the cameras at Sharp Road to improve our security measures.
Okay, thank you. And the asset management software, why didn't we purchase that one?
We did the asset management plan, which drove the needs for the asset management software, and that tender is going to be issued Monday.
Okay, so
And
we're
it'll
waiting
be
for
out for a
that
term
first.
of 6 weeks,
Okay,
and
thank
then it'll
you.
close.
So in just that Public Works Department section, 263,500 is the expenditure. 58,000 is what is tax supported. And we have some reserve funds as well that are taking care of those items. Any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Bateman.
Just one quick one for the Director of Public Works. The last one replaced the security cameras. I understand why. Are they so old and dated? Would they be thrown out, or can they be repurposed for another facility in the municipality?
They're extremely dated and very poor quality. So they'll likely just be surplus or thrown in electronic waste, to be honest. And the system is not very friendly and it doesn't have a lot of storage to begin with. So I thought the whole system was obsolete, and this project would upgrade all the cameras and the storage capabilities on site.
I was just thinking in terms of, we all know the issues we've been having around the skateboard park, if it's something that could be repurposed there to bolster your security where we've had the issue.
The biggest issue is the definition on the cameras. We had an incident earlier this year, and they were unhelpful in aiding the police in any way.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for? Go ahead, Mayor.
And thank you, Deputy Mayor. On the two items that are coming out of reserve funds, the asset management software and the security cameras, are they, the carryover, is that from an existing, from obviously a carryover fund? Or is that from, are they both from modernization?
They're both coming from modernization
Thank you.
as budgeted for the asset management software last year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Next, the Public Works equipment. Go ahead. Preston, if you wanted to
Thank
go
you.
over
The sander unit for the sidewalk plow is the MV4 unit that we purchased in 2019. This will help with our logistics. So it increases the hopper size from half a yard to 1 yard. So then the deployment time will almost double, and it'll save a lot of trips back and forth to the shop. So we should be able to provide a higher level of service a little more efficiently, because we'll save a lot of fuel as well, not to mention the wear and tear on the vehicle. The tandem truck carryover is the tandem truck approved last year. It's going to be built next week, I guess, is when the factory is going to start to build the chassis. So it won't be in Kingston probably till the end of the month or December. So we expect delivery of that to be first quarter of 2022. The roadside mower attachment, the one we're currently using, we resurrected from something that was abandoned quite some time ago. And our fleet coordinator has been able to manufacture and basically cobble together parts to keep it going, but it's at the end of its life. We can't get any parts for it, and it's just wore out. So this will permit us to keep doing our roadside mowing in-house with the tractor that we have. And then the backhoe replaces 2 units. One's already broke down and unrepairable. The other one is beyond repair to keep it safe. So this single backhoe replaces both of those. Its primary function will be winter maintenance and helping us load trucks for deployment. And in the summer, we share both units with the Parks Department and our roads crews to do work around town and in our parks and launches and whatnot.
Thank you. So when it comes to something like a backhoe, is there concern as well that it'll take a year to get it, or is that something like, is it like other vehicles or?
The potential's there. Right now, there's enough in the market, but it typically is about a 6 to 8 month delivery on something like that.
And this is a new unit?
Yes, it'll be a brand new unit with warranty.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Councilor Rowley?
Thank you, Mayor. Just going back to the whole list of fleets as well, Preston. Do we have 2 sidewalk plows? There seems to be only one listed, but I thought the municipality had 2.
Yes, we have 2 units.
Yeah,
The MV4 and then a small loader unit that we previously had for probably 7 years now.
yeah. I just couldn't find it in the list, but just wanting to make sure because I see it now. Never mind. That's all right.
Go ahead, Councilor Bateman.
For the Director of Public Works again, similar question I asked for the fire chief. You had mentioned the 2 backhoes are either broken or near broken. Knowing how hard it is to get new equipment right now, it could be 6 months or it could be a year. Are either one of those backhoes that we have going to be enough until you get the new one?
The one unit is already down and unrepairable. The other unit is still currently running, but if it goes down, we could rent a piece of equipment. It's not very cost effective, but it would cover us in an emergency situation. Not to mention, we have some local contractors that I know would help us out, such as Steve Crow, who's just down the street from our 67 Sharp Road.
Anyone else? Councillor Dadman?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The guide rail, we did some of that work last year, did we not? And this is just what is left of what we had put in the budget. Is that the carryover?
Yes, that's a carry forward. We actually didn't get any guide rail work done other than some in-house maintenance, but we didn't get any large scale
Oh,
replacements
I
done.
thought there was some on Prince Edward Street. That was done, no?
No.
No, okay.
Okay, so let's just finish up with the Public Works equipment, 605,000, 45,000 of it to be supported with taxpayer funds, and the remainder is coming from reserves. Any other questions on that section before we move on? Okay. And then next we have, next page is the guide rail, which we've already heard is carryover. Any other questions on that at this point from council? No. And then the Applewood culvert carryover, again, that was from last year as well.
That's correct.
Thank you. Any questions from council on that? Okay. So next we're going into road construction projects. Preston, did you want to go over some of this? Just give us a brief explanation as well before we go into it.
Yes, that'd be helpful. Just to cover the first project for engineering for future projects. There's 400,000 earmarked for that. So that includes the design for Harbor, Marina, and Wallace, inclusive of the stormwater management plan requirements. Bay Shore Road drainage, there's a couple of issues we need to investigate down in that section, and council heard from a resident earlier this year. To complete the design of Addison Street, Napoleon Street, Applewood, and Loyalist Drive. And we would like to tender Applewood and Loyalist simultaneously by the end of the year to hopefully we get a good price and get into the market early. And then also for the Main Street water main, we've submitted funding for the project to replace the water main from Ontario Street out to our west limits at Sheer Farm. And if we're successful in obtaining that funding, then we would move ahead with the design of that water main to get that replaced in accordance with the funding that's provided. The next two are Apple Drive and Loyalist, or sorry, Applewood Drive and Loyalist. Loyalist Drive is a carry forward. Applewood, we're hoping to team onto that. Plus, that also includes about 100 meters of Sharp Road along the frontage of 67 Sharp. All of that would be upgraded with Applewood. Telephone road completion, it's paved now, top lift. And actually, Google Street View, just Google Street Viewed it last night. So that was funny to see them on our new road. And then the next project, so we're just taking a little bit over for that, just in case there's some cleanup in the spring that they might not get to due to weather this year. Maybe some reinstatement of the shoulders or the ditches, that sort of thing. The next large project is east of Veteran Way. It's the Sobeys parking lot up to the rear of CIBC. And there's also a storm drain system that goes over behind the shoe store property or the old Brighton Library. The entire drainage system in there's failing. All the pipes are rotted, they're plugged. The whole system isn't working well. Everybody's probably saw the failed culvert that was in the Sobeys parking lot most of the fall. We've got that patched up as best we can just to try to keep it safe and to take a little bit of water. The whole system through there needs to be looked at and repaired and replaced. So we allotted 350,000 for that reconstruction. The streetlights, we carry that $7,000 every year, and it's for new streetlights, not repairs or maintenance, but it's new ones that pop up as the needs arise. And then the rest of that list is our surface treating program. And it's probably the most extensive that Brighton's ever done for sure. We're at 26.7 kilometers for our 22 program. And there's a more detailed list in the front of your binder. And just to point out, some of those roads are shared. So the single surface we're putting on Stony Point Road is a boundary road. So that cost is shared with Quinny West. Walt Street is also a boundary road with Quinny West, so those costs are shared with Quinny West. And as well as Waits Road, that's a boundary road with Grammy Township, so that's also a shared expense. Now, just a note, I don't believe Grammy has approved their budget yet. I spoke to the director, provided him the information quite some time ago. They were going to include it in their budget for their council's approval. But I would suggest for White's Road, if Grammy doesn't approve it in their budget, I would suggest we pulverize it, turn it back to gravel so we can make it a safer surface. And it would be a little easier to maintain, but we can cross that bridge once we know what Grammy Township is doing. And then I'll obviously provide the direction that we're taking to council at that time.
So for Lisgar Street down, we have 999,000, which is basically for all of those roads. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Questions from council. I'm going to start with Councillor Anderson.
Why you just mentioned Liscar, that is the upper part of Liscar, is that correct?
That's correct. Some from Smith Street to the north end.
Okay. Thank you.
I saw the mayor had his hand up.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. With regard to Waits Road being a boundary road, will you keep me apprised of what you hear? And I will also talk to my friend next door and see, make sure that Mayor of Grammy Township is aware of our concern here. If I may just go slightly off topic, I know we're waiting. Are we still waiting for them on our boundary road decision with regard to speed limits?
Yes, so two things for boundary road. We're waiting on an answer from them from speed limits. I've asked the director of roads, sorry, the manager of roads over there a couple of times. I haven't got a response yet. And I don't know, and maybe Linda could speak to this. I don't know if we recovered our costs from the reconstruction of that road yet either. From 2020, I believe we redid that road.
Go ahead.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Mayor Ostrander, we did have some communication with Grammy Township when we were going in advance of doing that road, boundary road. And we all know that that road was in really poor condition. We didn't get a response, but we did go ahead and do the road for obvious safety reasons. They haven't, they won't commit to providing us any funding for that road at this point, saying that it wasn't, excuse me, included in their budget. My reply back at that point was, well, the surface treatment single lift for maintenance reasons, the total cost is around $40,000. And so I requested that they pay the entire $40,000 for that lift. It's significantly less than 50% would have been in 2020, but we've already funded that and sort of moved on. If we're going to partner with other municipalities though to maintain boundary roads, you know, it's better that we have commitment from them to pay for their portions.
Thank you. Could you provide me with the cost breakdown for this upcoming Waits Road reconstruction and the invoices from the 2020 reconstruction of Boundary Road? Thank you.
I guess, sorry, just while we're on the boundary road situation, we don't have any formal agreements in place with Grammy Township. So as soon as time permits, I'd like to move forward with getting those agreements with Grammy Township. They would be brought forth in front of this council to be approved in conjunction with the Grammy Township, just to make sure the lines aren't blurred anymore and their responsibilities are clearly outlined in the agreements.
Good plan. I think it was Councillor Bateman.
Yeah. Just for the Director of Public Works again, when I'm reviewing the roads, I thought last year we had in pre-design for Harbor Street, which would have incorporated also Marina and Wallace. Have they dropped off the list or are they still under consideration?
No, they're still in the works. We're about 90% done on the tender now. We hope to have it out in about 2 weeks.
Just further to that, so when we do engineering projects, that means that they're being engineered in the next little while, but they will probably be part of the next year's project. Is that correct?
That's correct. As far as Addison Napoleon are, that's included in the wish list at the front of the binder because they were identified a number of years ago because the underground infrastructure on those two streets is in desperate need of replacement.
Okay, so Harbor Marina and Wallace, though, we're looking at 2023.
I believe so, yes.
Councillor Tandem.
Thank you. That was the one question I wanted to ask to make sure that we were at least moving forward with that, because this has been a long-standing problem, and I'm sure both of you at least were on council for the full time last time when it was a problem. The other thing, what is, can you give me some kind of an update on what's going to happen after this, if this water study is done, and what's happening with Pinnacle South?
Pinnacle South, we paved the parking lot today, actually, to try to
Okay.
control some of the dust. And it's going to be included into the Prince Edward Road construction that's likely going to happen in 2023. With our proposal being the bulk water station gets moved out of the urban area in front of the lagoon system property. And we will also, for future development, carry that 10 or 12-inch water main out to the John Street Road allowance where it meets County Road 64, so that it's there for any potential loop up to the industrial park or further up and across the tracks to No Frills to complete that loop system.
Follow up on that.
Yep.
It's just that this is another one of those ongoing, and it's been very upsetting for the people that live on that street. Can we communicate to the people that we're at least moving forward? I don't know how you want to do that, but I think they should be assured that by 2023, they won't have to put up with the trucks coming from 6 in the morning to whatever time at night. So I don't know how you want to move forward with that, but
Is there a way to do that?
Last time I hand delivered letters and spoke to all the residents that were home at that time, I think I missed 2 or 3, notified their intentions that we will bring a future plan forth to this council. And we can certainly provide them with another update on
That'd be
what
great.
the plan is right now.
When was the last time you did that?
It was in 2020, and I think it was the spring of
Okay.
2020 or early summer.
Any other questions on this section? Councillor Rowley?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm looking at page 44, your chart on asphalt service treatment, blah, blah, blah. We're going to have another shortfall on asphalt roads again. Is that a concern? Our annual goal is 3.7. We're hardly doing 1 kilometer. We're going to get behind again. Is it getting us farther behind all the time when we don't kind of catch up on those things?
Go ahead.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Absolutely, it's concerning because it doesn't go away. It just keeps compounding and getting larger, and the deficit just keeps growing in the work that we need to do. So it all comes down to dollars, to be quite honest. It's expensive work, and we have to just try to do it as best we can. As much as council wants to do, we can do. But it is concerning that we're having a shortfall of almost 3 kilometers again this year.
Yes, follow up?
Yeah,
Yeah.
more or less. Another question, yeah, and it's about asphalt roads. All the asphalt roads that we have to maintain or resurface, do we have to go do all the infrastructure underneath as well? Or are some of it just kind of retopping some streets? If you know what I'm saying? Like, I know asphalt are the streets, but do we do all the underneath infrastructure every time, or have we got streets that we just not keen to maintain, kind of resurface a little bit?
there are roads out there that we could shave and pave, but I don't know if it'd be the best bang for our buck, given our infrastructure needs in the urban area with water, sewer, storm. White's Road might be the only road I can think of that doesn't have any underground infrastructure that could use some attention for asphalt. But generally our needs are driven by the state of the infrastructure under the ground and the ability to provide safe drinking water and try to seal up our sewer systems and that sort of thing. So that's generally what's been driven our needs, given the dollars we have to spend.
Go ahead.
If there was found money, as we did with Telephone Road, that's the kind of idea that you're thinking of White's Road as well. Is what we just did with Telephone Road to County Road 26, just kind of redo the top.
If there were extra dollars, I would recommend to go towards Addison and Napoleon. There is a bad section of White's Road. We're going to see what the spring brings from Georgina West for about 400 meters.
Yeah.
If it gets to a point where we can't maintain it smooth enough, I would recommend that we surface treat it until such time we can do a better reconstruction and make it asphalt.
So that would be your wish list, finish Addison and Napoleon, and then maybe do a small section of White's Road is what you're saying. If there were dollars to do that.
That's correct, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Ostrander?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. It is entirely because of our concerning infrastructure deficit, and we're certainly not alone in this. It's a coast to coast concern. That we need to make sure that we are funding future engineering and design so that when future infrastructure funding does come available from upper levels of government, we're ready to go and have shovel ready projects. It's not sexy stuff, but it's stuff that our friends at the federal government do like to fund from time to time. So I'm incredibly supportive of the initiative for engineering of future projects. And I guess I would like to ask, is the $400,000 you've budgeted here enough?
It is, given our list. The only factor that is unpredictable right now would be the design of the water main for the Main Street project, because I wouldn't recommend that we only do water main design. I think we should do the full design of the street, what it'll look like in 5 years or 10 years, and then build to that as far as our underground infrastructure, and then catch up with the pavement and storm system or whatever it may be at that point. But I would, it's kind of a wild card at this point, and we'll only move forward if we do get that funding for that. So if we did require more funds to make that happen, then we could just come to council and request more funds, and then it would support our the grant if we receive it. Fingers crossed.
Any other questions regarding our roads? Councillor Bateman?
Just for Preston again, the shortfall on getting asphalt down, is that 100% due to funding, or is there other elements that factored in?
Well, if the funding were to come available, we would need some staff resources to deliver the program. We've been pretty stretched thin this year trying to get the list done, and we didn't exactly accomplish the goals we set out. Can't say it's for a lack of trying, but it is just sheer workload and the horsepower that it takes to get these projects done properly and in a timely fashion.
Councillor Anderson?
I may be thinking further ahead or something, but when you talk about engineering Main Street and all these plans, are we taking into consideration things like traffic lights and things like that, or is that somewhere else?
Yeah, part of the design would be a traffic study to warrant whether or not we need lights or any kind of intersection improvements.
So
In that would be also traffic calming devices. Council's expressed that need to come up with some alternative measures other than lower speeds. So that would be a factor in the design to try to curb speeding, if you will, to slow their roll.
So the 400,000, is that in that line there, engineering for future projects, that would be in there, so have you? That, I think the mayor made a good point, is where I'm leading to. These engineering, 400,000 doesn't sound like a lot of money for me, for a main street, including traffic lights and crosswalks and all those concerns. So I'm starting to think where he's thinking is, are we, let's thinking a bigger picture here than, and I know we want to hold back on budget, but I'm saying this is one area that I think the municipality would be really happy with, that we look at, and it's going to be a main feature of that entire west end all the way out to, so 400,000 doesn't seem, when you look at the big picture. So again, I'm just saying, all those things are considered in this 400,000. And I don't want to start naming off places for traffic lights and things like that. I'm not going to do that, but I just know what a traffic light is worth and the cost of things like that. It adds up pretty quick. So have we got enough there? I'm just saying.
Traffic considerations would be involved in each individual project, and the money involved in an intersection really comes into play when we go to construct it and tender it. Warrant, coming up with a warrant isn't that difficult of a process. It doesn't cost a lot. It's the design and installation of the system is where the money is. I'm comfortable with 400,000, and if we do shatter that and we need more, then I would have no problem coming back and asking for a little more funds. And hopefully we can save that in another area and still stay within the lines, but I'm comfortable with that 400,000 for 2022.
Okay, thank you. I think it just had to be asked.
So the 400,000 is for engineering, not for the actual
Yeah, but
lights or anything like that. It's the engineering,
thank you. Good.
correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Councillor Tandem.
Thank you. Just so I can be refreshed, our urban infrastructure reserve fund, could part of that be used for something similar to this if we had, got a notion that there was going to be a lot of money being spread around, and that we want to, get some engineering done quickly on something as big as Main Street? Could we take money from it? Is it designated for something like that too, then, I guess? Because it is urban, the whole, it's totally used for urban. And maybe you could tell the history of why it's urban for those who don't know.
So the Urban Infrastructure Reserve Fund was actually established just prior to amalgamation.
Right.
And the Brighton PUC was sold. And the funds that were received from that sale were put into that reserve fund and earmarked for projects in the urban area. We have used it in the past, I believe, even on Main Street for some of the upgrades that we did on Main Street in the mid 2000s. That's my guess. And I think that that's exactly what it's for using that. We also borrow against it too. So as part of our internal borrowing program.
Thank you. Any other questions? So the total expenditure for roads is 3,495,000, and we're looking at tax support of 1,247,000. So we're just going to move to the next section here, and that's Parks and Rec. Director of Parks and Rec, Jim Miller, did you want to give us a bit of an overview?
Sure, through you, Deputy Mayor. Basically, most of the items that I have here are maintenance. The arena, it's basically maintenance to the rubber in the flooring in the dressing rooms. The parking lot, which was in this year's budget, wasn't completed, so it's moved to next year as a carryover. And we need some more work done in our ice plant. Our chiller and header lines need to be replaced. For parks, we are looking at keeping up with our replacement for our vehicles. So we have a truck in to be replaced. We have a parks master plan as well in, with the idea that we would take the 3 plans that we have currently that we've done in the last decade and combine them into one, as well as get a feasibility study with that to determine what we need going forward as far as facilities go. I'm currently working on a grant for that, the Resilient Communities Fund. Intake number 3 was just announced, and we'll be putting in an amount for that, hopefully to cover it all.
Okay.
Security cameras, it's in there too, and that will be part of the modernization funding that Mrs. Whitfield spoke about earlier. The community center roof, we've dealt with that this year. It's in next year's budget. We did put a grant or an application in for funding for the whole amount. Hopefully we will hear about that in the next month or so. And we have a columbarium that needs to be, we need to add another one. There's about a dozen spots available, that's all. So it definitely needs to be done. We could borrow, and then we would pay back with the sales. Trails, we have the Toby Trail, the bridge there needs to be replaced. It's been there a dozen or so years. It's wooden, so it needs some attention as well. We're putting money in now that we have the new trail and bike committee. We're hoping that we're able to go forward with a project next year. So we're putting in money for that, 50,000. The marinas, we have one more dock to replace, and that's the east side dock down at Ontario Street. And with that one, that'll be all our docks, finger docks at the marina, as well as the boat launch. They'll be all replaced in the last 4 years. Working on looking at dredging the marina. I don't believe it's ever been done, as well as the area where the boat launch is down at Bay Street Marina. I'm working with the town of Coburg. They have a dredging machine, and their council allows them to do one municipality a year. This year they did Port Hope. So I'm hoping next year they'll be able to do our marina and get it done, because I found this year, especially, there's so much sediment in there that the front docking spaces are almost unusable because the water level's so low. Okay, and then the government dock in Presqu'île, I'd like to just spruce that area up.
Okay, questions from council? Go ahead, Councillor Tadman.
Maybe, Jim, you don't remember, you just weren't around when it was happening. It was dredged, but it was a long time ago, and it stayed pretty good up until what, a couple of years or so ago. But it's in bad shape right now. I don't know what you would call it. Would you call it more wetland than a
Wow.
a marina launching pad, because it's really mucky in there?
Yeah, it's a lot of silt. I mean, we were able to, the town of Coburg was nice enough to come over and do a chart for us on depths. And yeah, it ranges from 5 feet to 3 feet at the front, and then about 7 feet, mainly around the end of the pier. And so our goal is to try to get it to 8 feet in. And so we've been able to assess the cost. And I've provided, I think, 5 applications to 4 different agencies to receive permission to do it. And so far I've heard from 3, and they've all been positive. So we're hoping to get this project done in April before the boating season.
That would be great. Go ahead.
Just to follow up on that Baru docks at the end of that, which is, it's good they're up that end instead of farther down, but it's soon going to fill into there too,
Yeah.
by the looks of things.
Yeah, we're going to be doing the whole the whole
Yeah.
inside.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Bateman, then Counselor Anderson.
For the director, I like the fact, but it would have been nice to see that parking lot paved, but it's a carryover. That really needs to be done, that section. When that's done, will there be any consideration or staff look at it? Because I think we brought it up in the accessibility committee meeting. When there's people parked in that front north lot, there's not really a lot of room for two-way traffic when that's the main accessibility door for your bingo and all the community center. So I'd like to see if it's possible when that's paved. I don't know what avenues we go to where it's one directional, because it's a hazard with the front door being there. Just a thought. 2 or 3 meetings ago, we brought that up to have a look at it, because you got two directional traffic, and there's even parking spots directly in front of the sliding doors that if somebody was backing up and if an accident happened where their foot slipped, they're going to be inside the community center with the people. So I don't know, might even look at barriers when this project is going on so cars can't crash through. And down to the security cameras, are they replacement cameras or additional?
They will be additional. One area that we do not have proper camera is the area where the skateboard park is, as well as the tennis courts, the curling club. That whole area there is not right now looked at because we just don't have the system there. As well, the camera system that we do have, it's a great system when it's light out, but when it's dark, it doesn't work all that well because it's not enhanced. It's not infrared.
And just a quick add on to that, because with the pickleball project and that being the selected site, we're probably going to have to at some point look at security cameras on the backside of that as well, because that will be behind the building with the trees there will become the prime target for vandalism with no eyes on it.
Yeah, it's the same as the picnic shelter. I mean, we had that this week and it's pitch black over there. So wasn't picked up. We checked our cameras.
Thank you. Counselor Anderson, and then we'll go to the side.
Well, just a quick question, Jim. You're going to dredge that area where the marina is, our marina is, and what about the marina in front of the Harbor View restaurant there? You know, where the boat launch is that's got nothing to do with us, right?
Well, with the area directly in front of the boat launch, we will be doing that
Okay,
because that is our way, way the public goes
right
in
out
and
to
wait out to the pier
good.
area, because
Okay,
then
good.
it goes to about 8 feet. So it's deep
I've
enough
noticed
there.
that's also
Right. So I guess
Same.
it will be a benefit to the Harbor View Cafe as well, but we won't be doing any of their marina.
might
I
be.
have talked to the owner and I had to get a permission slip from a sheet from him to put into one of the applications.
perhaps
He
he
knows about
wants
it.
to expand on that. That would be very nice. And
Thank you. Mayor Ostrander, did you have a question? Counselor Rowley.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The community center roof, Jim, you have, has the total request been for grants? What happens if we don't, where will the monies come from if you don't get any or all of those dollars?
We'd be borrowing internally. I suspect there'll probably be a staff report coming back.
Thank you very much.
We're hoping that it's 100% funding if we receive it. So
Okay,
keeping our fingers crossed.
okay. Well, we'll all keep our fingers crossed.
When would we know?
I'm hoping by mid-December, because it's been
Okay.
in a few months.
Okay, well, that's
Yeah.
helping. I have a question or a comment about the Parks Master Plan. I know the multi-use recreational committee has been talking about that, needing that updated in order for us to actually make any good decisions. So that's part of the reason why it's there. We do need it in order to figure out how to move forward. So I hate seeing 75,000 for those sorts of things, but I know that's the cost of them. So any other questions for this whole department, Parks and Rec? So the total Parks and Rec is 1,032,000. We're looking at just 75,000 from support and the rest to be from reserves and other funds. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you. Regarding the Parks Master Plan. So what you're doing is combining all the plans that you have at this stage, right? That's what you said. You've got 3 plans.
Yeah, we'd be taking the waterfront master plan, the trails, green space,
Right.
parks plan, as well as the King Edward Park and indoor facility plan.
And community.
And use them basically as the basis for a study to see where
start
we're
with.
at. Because
Right,
they're not old plans, but they
No.
need to be updated.
right. Yeah, they need to be reviewed. Is that something that council will deal with then in the new year?
Well, we'd be putting a tender out.
So, yes, the tender's going out in the new year. And we'll deal with it when it comes back. Right. Any other questions? Okay. Planning, building and bylaw. So I guess we'll start with planning. Director of Planning, Paul Walsh, did you want to give us an overview of your budget?
Yes, Deputy Mayor. The capital side of the planning budget involves a secondary plan, a continuance of that was originally budgeted in 2021. So there wasn't much spent in 2021. There was some negotiation on the awarded tender and revised terms of reference, et cetera, that got finalized just relatively recently. So it's a 2-year project, 62.5 each year, and another matching amount coming from the DCs. So that's the bulk of the capital, other than replacement vehicles for both building and bylaw. The added new item is a public engagement policy. So we have been encouraging development applicants to have open houses and have a generally more robust public engagement.
Yep.
And the Planning Act allows for a municipality to have alternative public notice and public engagement processes, but you really are meant to have some specific official plan policies in place. And we could use some more detailed procedures as well, so that there's clear lines of expectation and procedure, and something that can be just handed off to the developer when they're making their first inquiry as well, so that they have an appreciation for what's expected. So the hope there is to have something in terms of a robust official plan amendment and a bit of a procedural document to support it. And that requires some, it's going to be important to have public engagement on a public engagement policy. So it's going to take some extra time, and there's lots to learn from other jurisdictional practices. So the request here is to have a small project for that would represent capital, because it's part of the official plan policy.
Thank you. Any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
So Paul, that policy you're talking about now, we don't have a policy in place now?
We have some guidelines that was just meant to assist developers making inquiries, but the reliance is really pretty much on the bare bones requirements of the regulations of the Planning Act only. So anything above the scope of the Planning Act, there's, as I was referring, you really need to have those policies in your plan. Alternative public notification policies as supported by the Act, but you need to have those in your official plan.
We haven't got anything going on right now for any of these developments.
That's correct. So there's some regulations that require them to have a public engagement strategy submitted, but only for certain types of applications, not all types of applications. So minimum requirements for a plan of subdivision application. There's a regulation on the back of the Planning Act. There's a list of things that they need to supply with their application as a minimum. If you want something more than that, you should have. Yeah, so if we want something more than that, we need to have something in the official plan. And there's been some decisions by LPAC and courts that way.
Thank you. I think I saw Councillor Bateman and then we'll go outside.
For the director, for the replacement of the vehicles, how old are the current vehicles that they're utilizing in building and bylaw?
They're about 2007. Oh, thank you.
2007?
7 years old.
Because I was just looking at, and
Oh, sorry.
what type of vehicle you're looking at? Because when I look at bylaw and I've seen our bylaw officer go around and sometimes he has to try to cram stuff in that tiny vehicle that vehicle is not really accommodated for. So you're looking for something similar or something that accommodates? Well, I've seen him where he's had to go and change signs, and in particular that I had to call because they said, oh, sign was missed, and it's because it was too high up. So they had to go back and get another vehicle that would fit a ladder to go back. So I didn't know if you were just looking at replacing the same, which wouldn't really be that efficient, or upgrading, because they're both the same price here.
Sure. The vehicle, when there's a special need by bylaw to have a larger vehicle, oftentimes the bylaw enforcement officer will simply borrow one from Public Works, and so we've done that as needed. So hopefully we can be economic and not need to get something that's oversized for day-to-day needs, but when there is some assistance to Public Works, then there's a Public Works vehicle normally available.
Thank you. Councillor Rowley.
I'm going to the cars as well, because this is usually what Councillor Tandem talks about is we don't need to replace all these vehicles, right? So I guess like Parks and Recs is looking at buying a truck for 37 and change, and we're looking at getting 2 small cars at 55 each, or 2 cars. One has less than 40,000 kilometers on it. Is this something that could be carried over for another year, or are we doing this because it's part of the whole rolling fleet? I'm the same 50. Yeah, rolling stock. That's a good word. I'm just thinking 55,000 when, like I said, why don't we get them each a small truck at 37 and save 20,000?
Go ahead.
Just to help Paul out a bit here and expand on the vehicles. Both of those vehicles will be fully electric. We bought our first one last year and it's been an awesome vehicle to use. You barely ever have to charge it, and we're saving all the fuel, and Brighton's, starting to go green. So that was the idea behind replacing these 2 vehicles, because both of them primarily, 98% of the time only require a little vehicle. When Alan or the bylaw officer needs a sign truck, he'll borrow our sign truck or one of the pickups in the yard. And then the existing 2 cars are both in good condition. They would stay in the fleet and be used for the office staff for construction inspection and any kind of maintenance or site visits, because we've just been extremely short on vehicles because we're doing so much in-house on the roadsides. There's barely ever a pickup truck out back for somebody else to drive. So we've been using a lot of personal vehicles, and that raises some other concerns and issues, because when we go to the site to represent the municipality, we should be in a lettered vehicle and ID'd equipment or clothes. So it's beneficial that way, but they would be totally electric vehicles that we would only have to charge once in a while in the yard and to try to reduce our footprint, if you will.
May I follow up? Mhm.
Are you finding that with the one that you have, is it cost efficient, basic electric versus gasoline or whatever? Is there a big savings?
Well, we estimated by buying that vehicle, we'd save about $6,000 of the fuel a year, given the typical mileage. I think we've maybe charged that 6 times this year. From empty, the range on a full charge is 450 kilometers. And so the use of that vehicle is typically low kilometers every day, same as building and bylaw vehicles where they don't get a lot of mileage in a day or even the course of a week. Like you stated, the one only has 40,000 kilometers on it after 7 years. So that would be ideal for the electric vehicle. And it's nice to drive, it's safe, and it's moving in the right direction of trying to reduce our fuel consumption.
Thank you. I understand by 2035, we all have to drive electric vehicles. Any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
I think it's great how we'll be reducing our carbon footprint and doing our part. And I also read today that Northumberland County is looking at all electric for their vehicles in the coming year or soon. You probably know more about it than I do, Mayor, but I know the county is looking at that. And one thing for sure is there's one vehicle we have that we should get a new license plate for because it's not legible. So I'll just say that, and that's an important feature.
I'm sure you could send an email to the director. and
No,
let
I'm
him know.
not going to send it. Either.
Any other questions? Mayor Ostrander and then Councillor Bateman.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm going to circle back to the public engagement OP policy and public consultation portion. And my question is through you to the Director of Planning. Your team has brought forward a couple of fairly robust public engagement options for 2 developments in the community. And I'm hopeful that through this process, that's what will become the norm. And I guess I'm just looking for you to confirm that, because regardless of the fact that there's been some confusion that these are council meetings, because everybody assumes, the big bad council can do all and does do all. I've been impressed by the public engagement process that has been brought forward. So I just wonder if you could comment on that.
To the Deputy Mayor, the Mayor, yes, that's what's meant to be entrenched now. That what we've been using as a guideline and collaborating with applicants, we'd like to see a little more formally entrenched. So we, as I use a phrase today, in consultation with the developer, that we build towards a complete application. So there's ongoing dialogue, and that in the end, there's less rework by the applicant because they're better informed by council staff and the public in terms of maybe scoping, in terms of reference for a specialized study, for example. There should be some early feedback, not at the end of pipe type feedback, so that whatever resources are in play to complete that study report are informed early. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, yes, Councillor Bateman.
For the director, it's good that we're moving towards EV slowly, and all the auto manufacturers almost forcing us to go that way because they're starting to build, your trucks, your F-150s, everything. But I think it was in 2019, 2020, somebody correct me, we talked about EV charging stations here, and we were going to be looking into logistical spots to locate them. So I don't know if that would fall under planning or maybe in between now that we have the economic development. Is that still being looked at? Because I think we were looking at spots within the municipality to put, because that would save money and drive tourism. Because if we're talking, you said 2035, we're probably one of the few municipalities as we're growing this size that doesn't have a single EV public charging station.
Totally off topic, but go ahead.
We're still moving ahead with that project. We've given them the approval. We've gone through all the hydro assessments. It's just a matter of the company coming back and performing the installs essentially. And then we can get them hooked into the buildings and power them up and make them available to the public.
Great. Okay, are we ready to move on to the next section? So our total planning, planning department, 260,000, only 12,500 support, and the rest from reserves and DCs. No other questions about that? Okay. Next, economic development, and we have our manager of economic development zooming in. Ben, did you want to go over a little bit your budget?
Sure. Through the chair, pretty easy budget. Obviously, we're looking at putting the gas installation of $241,098 back in the budget. Obviously, we've sold more lots in throughout 2021, and the idea of getting this installed ASAP is sort of at the forefront of Mr. Parkinson and I talking to Enbridge quite often. So now that we have buildings actually going up, the urgency is now. So the goal was to get a business case in front of us that would allow us to pay $0. But I don't think we're quite there yet. So we want to have that dollar amount in the budget for an install when we need to get there. And then the sign, we did replace the old industrial park sign that sits on Prince Edward Street. It's a nice big sign with a big arrow, points into the industrial park now. I'm sure most of you have noticed it. I've had some good feedback on it. The original concept was to list all of the businesses that were in that business park area into the new industrial park on Sharp Road. After some consultation with Public Works, kind of at the start of 2021, we started to realize that Loyalist Drive was going to be redone in the next year or so. So the idea of putting a sign in that ditchway or on the side of the road didn't make a lot of sense when things were going to, change drastically. So we've transferred $4,000 into this year's budget to make that happen in 2022.
Okay, thank you. And also we have the pop-up canteen idea as well.
Yep.
Here. Did you want to just give a little overview of that? Then we'll talk.
I can go over that as well. Yeah. We are applying for a grant for the King Edward Canteen retrofit project that will result in a pop-up vendor concept. And we've applied to a red grant on October 1st. The application was sent in for approximately $11,700. Combine that with the money we've got in the budget, I think it'll equal to $35,000. Miss Whitfield can check my math, but that's where we're got our fingers crossed. We're getting that grant. Our rep says it's a very strong application. Just to give you some context on timing, last year we applied for the Casey's Lane project, and we applied, I believe, January 31st, and we did not find out till middle of May that we were successful. So these are lengthy processes. My hope is that they understand that a lot of these projects are going to be, municipal budget dependent. So hopefully they do give us a heads up towards the end of November, latest middle of December before the holidays, but you just never know with these things. So we have applied, we have got money in the budget to get the RFPs out there ASAP. And we're really excited to move ahead with that project.
Okay, thank you. Any questions at this time from council? Mayor Ostrander.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Two questions. The first is with regard to the Enbridge installation. Would we be recouping that money as lots are sold and or folks are hooked up to the system, or is that an out-of-pocket expense for the purpose of being able to make these more saleable lots?
I know maybe the CAO or the director of parks or director of public works might have a more number answer than I can offer, but I do know that we're not charging enough to I guess break even on all the costs that it costs to offer these lots in terms of road construction, gas installation, when we did the hydro installation, etc. We're trying to get the lots bought by good folks and get a couple jobs and get some tax base, and that's kind of the overarching concept. But as we start to offer more lands, get out of this wetland predicament we're in, it will be my recommendation that we turn up the price a little bit.
Thank you. Mr. Castleman, did you want to comment on that as well?
My only comment would be that, our industrial park, we're in for the long haul. Our goal here is to build the tax base and build the employment base within our community and strive for economic sustainability. We've been advertising the sale of industrial park lots for a number of years, 2014, 2015-ish, and we've been advertising them to be sold fully serviced.
And as you know, Hydro went in a couple, 3 years ago. And we've been working closely with Union Gas over the course of the last couple of years to have them install gas at no cost to the municipality. But they're only going to do so based upon the demand that is in front of them. And the demand is driven really by building permits at the end of the day. As you all know, we've had a very active last 6 months or so with a number of different sales. And we're going to continue to try and partner up with Union Gas to get some type of cost sharing. Not sure what that is going to be. But at the end of the day, we're selling lots fully serviced. And if we can't partner up with Union Gas, we're going to go ahead with the servicing of those lots based upon the existing price that we've established until such time that we choose to change that price.
Okay, thank you. Follow-up? Different question. I'll allow that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you for that answer. My question actually is a bit of an echo of Councillor Bateman's question about security cameras from before, but specific to the canteen pop-up area. Will, and maybe my question is for the Director of Parks and Rec at this stage, will there be security cameras in that pop-up canteen area? And to echo my friend across the way here, the new pickleball area.
There's the cameras are in place right now that cover the front of that ball canteen.
Okay.
So it's fully, 24/7. There's enough light there that you can see them. The new system that we're looking at is wireless. So I'm sure we'll be able to, with another camera to cover the pickleball as well.
Thank you.
So
Any other
that's
questions? Go ahead.
Thank you. My question, Ben, is regarding Casey's Lane. I don't know if you can answer or if Mr. Parkinson can answer. The other day when I was in your office, we talked about that a little bit, about maybe finishing what we thought was part of the scope of phase one and then maybe continuing to kind of clean up a little bit. I think it's more minimal than a whole lot of dollars going into the second part south of Park Street to get that cleaned up. Is there monies, or are we requiring any money to get the rest of that cleaned up? I know there was talk of lighting initially to put in with Casey's Lane itself. And like I said, then the second part needs to be cleaned up, whether or not we put lighting, or I don't think it needs to be beautified like phase one, but it certainly needs a little bit of maintenance.
I believe that I helped write the application, but it was a public works budget line that we used to pay for that project. I could be wrong, but I think that's how that worked. So I'm not sure if Mr. Parkinson wants to jump in on any funding that could be available.
I'm only aware of the funding that we already obtained. But as far as the lighting goes, I guess the attention's been on the adopt-a-tree in the Harbor Street or the Harbor Point Pond plantings. And we've had to not move ahead with the lighting just yet, but we still plan to do that. We have to talk to the property owners yet. But the lights are now working on the dentist office. So there is adequate light down the first section from Main Street to Park, and also from Park Street to 46 Prince Edward. But the decorative lighting, we've had to kind of put that on the back burner while we dealt with some other priorities that were weather sensitive.
Can I ask? Thank you for that. Hopefully at some point, maybe it can still get done. And I hope you reach out. I know DBIA has a good investment in that project as well. They certainly partnered with what went on in phase one. So hopefully if we need to look at some more funding somewhere, that hopefully we could reach out to DBIA and we could partner once again to kind of finish up that whole section. And like I say, maintenance on the south part.
Thank you. Any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Bateman.
Just for the Economic Development Officer, on the installation of the gas, is there any opportunity to look for funding, or have we, with either the province or the federal?
There hasn't been anything that's came across my desk that would be fully eligible for. We thought CIO and I met the other day with a couple provincial reps in the economic development ministry, and we thought we might have something. We still might, but there's nothing in process right now in terms of funding dollars that covers that expenditure.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so that's the economic development and the industrial park. 35,000 for the economic development, with 23,000 of that in taxpayer support. And then the industrial park, 245,000, and that's all funded through reserves. We can move on to the last page. And that's environmental services. So I guess our Director of Public Works, Preston, would you be able to go over that? Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. These ones are important, so I think I'll go through each project individually. So the security system, there currently is nothing at the pumping station or the lagoon property to provide any sort of security or to help us in any way if something were to happen, to look back on it and see if there's anything we can do. The force main carryover was awarded a couple of months ago. They were supposed to mobilize to the site this week. I haven't seen them as of yet, but they were set to start construction next week. The wastewater upgrade project, I think council's well educated on that at this point. We're currently undergoing the process design of our preliminary plan that council saw a little while ago. And then once we have the engineer review on that, it will be submitting it to the MECP for their approval and review. A pumping station, we just had the pre-construction meeting yesterday. They've already started to order all the electrical components, mechanical components, and any generators and structural components that they need for that project. They will be mobilizing to the site right now as of April 11th next year, and they plan on having that project done in September. The fire detection system, that was brought to our attention through the building condition assessment evaluation we went through earlier this year. There is currently no fire detection system at the lagoon property. So we have that in the budget for next year to get done. The next three wastewater projects are related to the construction component of reconstructing the streets. So Loyalist Drive and Applewood, and in the middle there is the water and wastewater rate study that is due to be redone next year. So we've included those funds. Moving on to water, again, that property has no surveillance system whatsoever. So we want to get those protection measures put in place on the treatment plant property. Where the hole punch is the ECA for the fourth well, and that is to accommodate future growth as our usage and volumes keep creeping up. This is to help provide more water to the system as we grow the community, and eventually we'll get the second water main and storage facility in place. So that'll help accommodate all of our future growth. That's a long-term thing. It'll probably take 2 years to do that study, and then we can work towards implementing the fourth well and getting the infrastructure into the plant and get that well online. The water model initiatives, we're about 95% complete that now. We have a meeting set up next week to review it, to go over any other issues that we might have, any questions we're going to have before that's finalized. The water and wastewater rate study, this is the portion for water, because obviously these are rate supported. So that's split between the two departments. The Main Street upgrade, that's primarily a water project. So that's why the 2.9 million is in this budget, because that's our primary objective. But again, as I said earlier, I would recommend when we design it, we do a full street design so we know what the future looks like, so we don't put something in the wrong place, and we make sure we're accommodating what Brighton looks like in the future. Loyalist Drive and Applewood, again, that's the underground water upgrade services when we reconstruct both of those streets. And that is everything for the water and wastewater environmental division.
Thank you. So that total expenditure is 14 million, almost 15. Only 772 of that is rate supported, correct, in 2023. And so it's not necessarily taxpayer supported, it is by those using those two. I want to call them items, but they're not really items. Systems. Thank you. So any questions on that? Okay, Councillor Bateman.
For the director, and both the mayor and I keep going back to this, but I see cameras are on this one as well. And it might just be a typo. This says security camera, not plural like the other one, but it's the same cost as the other departments. So I don't know if you're getting more than one or one, because it's $500 difference than what the Parks and Rec wanted. But the big question is, we've got multiple departments looking for security cameras. Are they going to work into departmental and look for the best price? Because I'm not looking to reduce it, but you might be able to get additional if one department's now ordering their own and then you have system compatibility as well.
Good question.
So when we went out for tender on the security system for this building, it was expandable. And so we're going to build on that expandable system, and we want to put it in all of our facilities.
That makes sense. Thank you. Anyone else? Questions on this section? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you. This question is for Ms. Whitfield. Just basically an understanding of development charges. Is there only a certain percentage per project that you can take out, is what I'm saying? I know we're using like reserve fund. I'm looking at the pumping station carryover, right? We're taking 245,000 out of development charges, 1.7 out of reserve funds. How do you come up with that number? I guess is my question. Is it just basically a certain percentage for each department that you can use out of development charges?
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Rowley, when we do the development charges study, as we add the projects, the consultant goes through them. They determine how much is related or attributable to new growth and how much is attributable to existing. And so then the percentages are allocated that way, and every project is different. No, when I looked at the study, I looked at the amount that was in the study, and no, I can't. We can't. Sorry.
Good question. Thank you. Director of Finance, also the the 8,800,000 for the wastewater upgrade is externally financed. So although it's not necessarily in this rate support amount, we are paying that over a certain amount of time. How many years is that financed over?
So I included that in that debt portion of your budget book. I'm just trying to get back to that page in the executive summary. Thank you, Councillor Rowley. So page 11, actually. So the wastewater upgrade project will require long-term borrowing as the project moves forward. Bear in mind, I don't think that we're going to accomplish the entire 8.8 million in 2022, but I don't know what portion we will accomplish. So to borrow 8.8 million over 30 years, it will cost the wastewater users $418,703 estimated.
And do we have hopes still of getting some funding, some grants to cover those costs?
We would definitely apply for any grants that come forward. The the green initiative on the ISIP funding that just came through was specific, and that's why we applied for our water main project on Main Street. And this wasn't applicable in this case. So fingers crossed that there's a new project or a new grant envelope that comes open.
Thank you. We were just talking about the rates and just concerned about how much this will increase the rates for those using it. Any other questions? Go ahead, Mayor.
Just to back up to the rates, and thank you for that email earlier today, showing us that we are, although regardless of the fact that we get frequent complaints that rates are going up, we are the lowest of our neighboring municipalities from a rate payer perspective. So that was actually a pleasant surprise today. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
For now. Thank you. Any other questions on this section? Okay, so we've gone through all of those. I think that it would be good. I don't know if anyone has questions or concerns that they want more info on before we meet next time, if it comes to mind right now. Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Rowley.
Sidewalks, Mr. Parkinson. I don't see sidewalks anywhere.
Maintenance.
That's included in our operational budget. And we, at this point, we have 285,000 included.
You know,
And, yeah, and that takes us to our third 3-year plan to be accessibility compliant.
thank you.
Right. Anything else? Go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. I'm on pages 42 and 43 of the executive summary. And it's showing me that the total capital budget increase this year is just shy of $45,000, which would, if we get no growth, it would be about 0.5% increase in taxation. Is that about correct?
That's a good question, but yes, that's correct. It's around 95,000 ish.
Yeah, so just shy of
1%.
0.5%, assuming no growth, but we know there's growth. We're just waiting for those figures to come in. So it will be in fact less, maybe significantly less than that.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so I think at this point, we can set this aside. We meet, I think, in a couple of weeks again, and we'll revisit all of these areas, the capital, and see if we're able to get through it and come to some firm conclusions on capital. If everyone's satisfied with that, go ahead.
I haven't heard any outlying questions on capital or what anybody might be looking for or to remove. And I'm not trying to rush a process here, but if we don't have any questions and we don't want to remove anything or add anything, unless we just want to sleep on it.
I'm not comfortable doing that
Very well.
tonight.
Okay, very well.
Last year,
I understand.
I got raked over the coals for trying to rush things, so I'm not going to do that this year. I would rather we come back to us at another meeting, because when we do sleep on it, we might have questions. This is a lot to absorb. We just got our binders on Friday, or if some of us were busy, we got it on Monday. So, right, we need to absorb a little bit, and if we have questions, we can certainly ask them before our next meeting and have discussions. Go ahead, Councillor Tandem.
I totally agree with you, Deputy Mayor, and also as residents become more familiar with what's in here, I
We're gonna get
think
questions.
they have questions too. And one counselor is missing who may have a lot of questions. So I think we need to not make decisions tonight.
Thank you. Any other comments from anyone else at this point? Councillor Rowley?
Maybe a question for staff as far as the items not included in this draft budget. I know Mr. Parkinson spoke about Addison and Napoleon as, if there were extra dollars. Is there anything else in there that we should, should we Or are you looking to do that as well, Deputy Mayor, that we kind of sleep on some of these, you know, position
Yeah.
recruitment and stuff, those kind of
Do we
things.
want to go over any of these items? Or do we want to look at them at the next meeting? What of these would be capital? We have 6 radar speed signs. Are those capital? What else do we have? External budget request. Napoleon Street. Addison. And the UTV for what, wastewater?
What is it?
Do we have an amount there?
Hmm?
Are those the 4 items that would be capital? Preston, do you want to comment on
Yeah,
those?
sorry. The speed radar signs are just a response to the public and council's
Mhm.
wish to do something about traffic. We've been able to secure an extremely good price on 6 units. So the sooner we can move ahead to try to secure that price, the better. And obviously Napoleon Addison Street, we've already spoken to. But as far as the UTV for wastewater goes, that's more of a safety measure. We had an incident this year where a tele-lift that we were trying to use for some maintenance inside the constructed wetlands slid off the berm towards the wetland because those berms are just earth and clay. They're very weak. So currently we drive a pickup truck around all year round to do our sampling. The idea behind the UTV would be that it would be a 4-seated heated cab unit with tracks, and they could traverse around the berms and not destroy them, especially this time of year when the ground's wet. We dig trenches on a lot of them. So it'd be more of a safety measure because I guess in the history we have had a half-ton or 2 slide into the lagoon. Fortunately, there was no fuel spills or no environmental impact, but if that ever were to happen, the impact would far outweigh the cost of the UTV unit. It's estimated right now at about 45,000 with the track unit. And that was just more of a safety preventative measure for the future and for existing situations.
So I'm wondering, Linda, if for the next meeting, those 4 items, would we be able to get them with, obviously, we have the amounts here, but how they can be funded as well, just like we have the rest of the budget, so that we can decide next meeting whether or not we want to add any of those? Is that okay? Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Tadman.
Yeah, thank you. I just always try to remind any council, as I've sat on it, that our main mission sitting here is for the health and safety of our residents. So things like what you're talking about, because I remember a truck going in there, and that can be very dangerous, that kind of
sure.
stuff. So I think that we could consider things like that over maybe something that's not essential. Just as I've always, accessibility is another thing that we have to look after all the residents. And I think, we're moving forward with sidewalks, and I've had compliments about,
Yeah, for
that
sure.
too.
So yeah, so if those 4 items, we could have, just again, a little bit more detail as far as, how we can finance it and what the impact would be, and then we can discuss it next meeting when we go over the rest. And so for next meeting too, we don't want to go line by line over everything. Next meeting, it'll be a matter of, are there concerns, are there things we need to discuss again, or are there things we're going to add? So when you come prepared for that kind of a conversation, so we're not going through every single part, if that's okay with everyone. Okay. Do we want to close our binders? Okay, well, let's close our binders. Okay. Oh, we can't close our binders yet. Go ahead, Councillor Rowley. Put your microphone.
I thought it was on. Is there anything that any department head really requires that you just kind of pushed aside and said, we're not bringing that to council because they're not going to approve what you want? I'm just asking.
Just make.
I'm very optimistic about what we're going to hear mid-December.
Mr. Castleman would like to comment.
Just a couple comments. I think what might be helpful for council's consideration at our next get together is perhaps a prioritized list of projects that might be in addition to what you have before you today. So if there's the next 1, 2, or 3 projects that staff collectively turn their mind to, and in the event that there's some additional funds, we can give you a prioritized list, and then you can make some decisions based upon that list.
Thank you. Okay, I'm closing my binder. No, my binder's closed, sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
Would you like that list sent to you or brought to the meeting, or any ideas that we might have? Do you want it in advance?
Well, obviously, if we're going to have a discussion around it, we
Yeah,
want to,
so-
but we
so-
want to stick to what staff has already kind of recommended. So we're going to get more information on these 4 items as well as anything else that's on the wish list. If you have a wish list, then perhaps you might want to get a little information about that before we meet, so that or you could write a letter to Santa Claus. We won't talk about Santa Claus parades either. Okay, so we're done our discussion question period. Do we have any questions? Anyone? No, none. And there's no in camera, so. Oh, I forgot to read a motion. I have a motion moved by Deputy. Sorry. I'm just. Moved by Mayor Ostrander and seconded by Councillor Rowley that the draft budget 2022 budget deliberations for capital budget be received. All in favor? Chair is quite comfy. And now we have a motion to adjourn, moved by Councillor Anderson and seconded by Councillor Bateman, that the November 4, 2021 Committee of the Whole Budget meeting adjourn at 8 p.m. All those in favor? That's carried.